everybody. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. Let's start with any disclosures of interest. Seeing none, we'll move right along. Any new business items? I don't believe we have any, but just in case. Nope. Okay. So the next is the minutes of the March 23rd Public Committee meeting. Could I have a mover to approve those minutes? Moved by the mayor, seconded by Javid. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. We don't actually have any agenda items, but we do have a couple of updates from the in-camera meeting, which is where we discuss the legal issues, the things that we can't discuss in public, sign off on certain memorandums of understanding, transfer agreements, and so on. But there were a couple that, even if we can't go into the nitty-gritty of the contract details, I think would be good to share. And Deputy Chief McIntyre, if you could share with us some of those transfer agreements and contribution agreements.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair, through you. So again, two transfer and contribution agreements, I guess, more properly. So federally, we have a contribution agreement. And what this is funds that are transferred from the federal government to police agencies in effort to really tackle child exploitation and those investigative requirements, technology, et cetera. So we receive funds annually from them in the amount of $70,000. Provincially, we receive a transfer payment, and this is funds over 4 years. And essentially, the objective is the same. It's really about targeting child exploitation and crimes against children on the internet. It's about training, technology advances. These funds are roughly $156,000, and that occurs over a 4-year period. That's the fiscal cycle for the provincial arrangement. But in short, these funds absolutely have a great impact on our ability to have investigators assigned to those roles and to really drill into these investigations in vulnerable kids. So it's excellent all around. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deputy Chief. Maureen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for the Deputy Chief. So I've read there's been some media attention to the fact that during the pandemic there may have been increased online activity. More kids are online, and so there's been this also increase in these kinds of crimes in child exploitation and internet predators out there. So I'm wondering if locally we are seeing that same kind of increased activity.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, through you. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. I'd have to drill into those. What I do know, anecdotally, there might be that sense. Investigatively, though, our investigators continually triage investigations for severity. And that's an important thing to note. They're never waiting for something to come in, ever. And unfortunately, various searches actually, they could easily find mountains and mountains of work in this field. That's scary, really, I think, in a general sense. So to know that really they're saturated and continually to triage for risk is not ideal. Has it gone up in the pandemic and in this times as we all sit in lockdown and those anecdotally, I think there might be suggestion of that, but I would have to pull the data to know that for sure. This is an area that is growing. I think you'll see all things in tech and cybercrime growing. Crime is moving online in many platforms. Instead of, waiting outside someone's address to criminally harass them, they're doing that through an online platform or through technology. So we're seeing that shift in crime and the methodology behind the crime. But specific to your question, I'd have to pull those numbers. But this is a busy area. And so we're grateful for the funding.
Go ahead, Maureen.
Yeah. Thanks, Madam Chair, and thank you through you to the Deputy Chief for that. I also want to say that I think it's great that both the provincial and federal government are providing us with resources in this. We know it's just from what we're reading, from the Deputy Chief has said that it's a growing area of crime. I think as parents, we all have to be more vigilant. If our kids are spending more time online because of the pandemic, we have to keep an eye on where they are and what they're doing. And I think that the provincial and federal government, as much as I'm grateful for these resources and this funding, I'd like to see additional recognition that this is a growing area of crime, and we really need as a society to tackle this together. So thank you, and thank you to London Police and the people involved in these areas for the work that you do. It's really important work, so thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Maureen, for those comments. I think you're exactly right, and it's scary to know that this is such a busy area, and much gratitude for the extra funding to make sure that that's being dealt with as much as possible, especially right now. And you're right, kids are at home a lot more and on the internet all day long. So that is a scary thought that there are predators out there doing that kind of thing. I believe that's it. Again, everything else that we discussed in camera was just around signing some memorandums of understanding and dealing with some confidential legal issues. So that is it. Could I just have a mover to accept my verbal update about discussions we had in camera? And that's moved by Chair Sequeira, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? And that is carried. There was no new business, so that concludes our Public Governance Committee meeting. Can I have someone to move an adjournment, please? And that's moved by Chair Sequeira, seconded by Councillor Cassidy. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you very much, everybody. I will see everybody back here on Thursday. Have a great week. Stay safe.